Will ya look at the space? I have put in a line which is level, and it matches the cleat from the existing work table. So the first step is to make a cleat and then attach it to studs with 3-inch screws to create something that those two edges of the work table will rest on. Alright, so I cut a cleat, and it turns out that it's a piece of wood that I used as a cement form when I was making the well cover, and I think it was used for something else before that, so it's going to stay here for a while. I pre-drilled the holes because I need to get screws into the very ends of the board. I find pre-drilling helps. Countersinks really help, because what ends up happening, these construction screws have a countersunk head, and if you try and jam that into wood that hasn't been drilled, it acts like a wedge, and on the very end it'll crack it very easily. It still may crack, but it should at least minimize the cracking. The reason why I have to get the screws on the very ends is, like everything in this house, this thing's built really funky, and it's hollow all through the middle, and then at the very end it's got a very small piece of wood. It's a 2x2 or smaller, and I ran into that problem when I did the other side. That went much better than I had hoped. So I got a cleat in that's very, very solid. And on the other side, finding the studs is going to be a little bit of a challenge. This wall has been repaired at some point. There seems to be plaster on one side and then some sort of wallboard. So what I did while the camera was off is did a few test holes to see if I could actually determine where the studs were. And I found 3 points where I'm pretty sure I'm hitting a stud. And then I found another piece of cement form that was kicking around, and marked this with where the studs seem to be. And then I put it down, and now I don't recall which way is which. Let's see. That is correct. One of the nice things about working with screws is if you change your mind, you can take the screw out and redo it. And it's not quite as tight to the wall as I would like, but it ain't going anywhere, so so I cut the 2x4s, and I decided to use a 45-degree miter, which I do not have a miter saw, so I did that on the table saw. And I'm pretty happy with how it came out. That may change when I try to put it all together. I also cut a recess, a rabbet, and I think that's a rabbet, so that the plywood is going to rest down in this notch, be fully supported on its edges. When I screw these together, I've gotten in the habit of using this. This is ancient. It is a Craftsman product. Here's a number on it. Number 9-6666. Made in USA. I have no idea how old this is. It was my old man's. He used it for making picture frames, which I think is what it was intended for. I have no idea if this thing is still available in any form. I've never seen one. I've never looked for one. I already have one. But I found it handy even with 2x4s, because it will open up wide enough to accept a 2x4. It doesn't grab a lot of it, but it just helps keep the thing in the right place as you screw something together. or nail it or whatever. So I use it in making boxes and crates, and I'm going to use it for this. So I'm cramped. I don't have the right tools. I'm in a hurry. Everything's wrong. But hopefully this will come out right. It just makes it easy. Okay. That ain't bad. So I'm going to do the other one so I have two L's and then put the L's together. So there is the finished tabletop frame. Next is cutting the plywood, which is going to be in the cluttered and nearly useless space in the garage. And I'm not going to show you. So I got the tabletop done and stuck it on top of the cleats, screwed in 2 screws, and then immediately started using it. It needs a support on that right end there. And here's my angle brace. I decided, in the sense of making this as quick and dirty as possible, but durable, to use a plate on the bottom of the angle brace and then screw that plate into the stud. It overhangs the 2x4 so that I can screw the piece of plywood plate into the 2x4 stud, which I am hoping I can estimate where that is without too much aggravation. The other end is cut so I can screw it in from the top, the 2x4 rim of the top. I apologize for the angliness. Oh my word, look at that. I apologize for the angle. With the constraint of time, it was the best I could do. Well, it wasn't the best, it was what I did. Ha ha! I think that will do. Only a matter of minutes have passed since affixing the brace for the tabletop, and the ideas are flowing as I try to figure out how to make use of this newfound organizational tool. And it has occurred to me, I've got all these CDs that I pointed out before, which are in these quite stylish boxes that I made. For most of the time when I was selling CDs on Contracopia, I was living nomadically, and I needed to carry the CDs with me, so I built these boxes which nest together. There's 2 of them, and they have a lid, and they close with these window latches. And I don't need to travel like that anymore because I have a place that I'm constantly trying to pay the taxes on. And so I thought, well, these would make, since they're just a little longer than the table's wide, they'd make nice drawers. So that's going to be my next little project here. And I'm going to sit on it for a while and figure out a decent way of making tracks with what I have available so that I can have both of these boxes. Because if I don't, I rarely sell CDs. But when I sell one, I need to get to it in an effective way and know where it is. And currently, they are accumulating stuff. And so putting them under the table here as drawers would keep them out of the way and easily accessible. So I'm really liking this idea.